All right, hi everybody. Welcome to Thunder Fight School. My name is Thunder. This is my game, and today we're playing with platforms. As you can see, lots of platforms today. There's a couple more big ones out of sight that we'll get to. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough material. I'm not used to this. I've been in Thunder Fight School for years, and just recently unlocked this new dimension, this vertical dimension. And so to go from just always being in absolute control of where the player is to having the player fly through the air and ride on things, it's new to me. So I'm just making this up as I go along. And today's stuff it might not be super polished, but it's coming along, I think. And there's a lot more work to do. So yeah, let's get started. So I've got a couple of rotating platforms over here. So let's jump on those first and we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah, so last video was all about like forcing the player's rotation. And so I set up a couple of platforms that rotate, and I'm going to force my rotation on this and see what that's like. And it's a little bit different from the car. I feel like with the car you've got this up close cockpit that you're staring at, and you're also kind of in control of the rotation. Whereas this is just kind of like fixed, and even though it's slow, it's still forced and feels really terrible. Like it just not yuck. It just feels bad. Um, Here I've got another one similar to that one, but more of a merry-go-round kind of setup. So I'll get it going pretty fast and jump on that. And I think when I'm riding on that and jump off of that, it feels a lot like I was just on a merry-go-round, and so I think that kind of works, even though these are almost the exact same thing. If you're doing it with the idea that this is like a merry-go-round and it's supposed to be a little uncomfortable, then it's a different experience than if you're on something where you're like, oh, I expected this to be smooth and comfortable, and it's not. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting that two almost identical things give you two completely different experiences depending on your mindset at the time of doing them. Anyway, just an observation that I had. Next up, we got some vertical platforms. I'll jump right on this one. And not much to this. It's just going up and down. But it is tricky to try to get the character to ride on this as like in a physicsy way without just overriding, without just kind of overriding my position and sticking me to it. And so you may see I am. You may see just tiny little hiccups in my movement where I'm changing between an airborne state and a grounded state. Well, actually, I may not be airborne. Actually, I think I've got like an in-between state. I call it tiptoes, where I'm actually not quite airborne, but I'm also not quite grounded. So you kind of have like a blend between the two. And anyway, transitioning between those three different states of airborne, tiptoes, and grounded, um, the transitions they're not exactly perfect right now. And so, like I said, you can kind of see them, those little hiccups where it's where you go into the platform, and then you have to like depenetrate out of the platform, and then maybe if you depenetrate too much, and now you're airborne, and now you have to fall, and then you hit the platform again, and maybe you bounce. And there's a lot to this stuff to try to get it just right. And I don't know. I'm still working on it. And yeah, this is a fun one. I think it's fast, horizontal platform, and it wants to kick me off. It wants to throw me off at the beginning, especially at the beginning and the end, when it does such a velocity change. So I kind of have to match it a little bit. But it's fast. It's interesting. It's fun to ride. Good stuff. Beside me, we've got the big boy. This one's, I, I don't know. I really like this one for some reason. It doesn't do much, but it's still pretty cool. As a test object, it's kind of neat also because there are so many platforms here. I think this is 50, um, and uh, and so just this transitioning from one platform to another while actually being airborne in between, and making sure that this all works, like really smoothly without a hitch, um, is pretty cool. It's a good little test object to get working, and it looks pretty cool. I did have the whole thing. I mean, I did have the whole thing, like the whole loop all the way around. But I figured why waste the rigid bodies? So I got rid of half of it. All right, next up we've got this. I've got this swinging bridge, another set of platforms, and this one is not just not doesn't have just the vertical movement. It also has a little bit of yaw and a little bit of roll to it as well. Um, Minor for you maybe, but I'm actually feeling the yaw. It's actually doing a little bit of the forced rotation as I walk across this thing, which makes it feel a little extra wobbly. Um, I'm not sure if I like that or not. So it's certainly not necessary, and feels a little disorienting, but it's kind of cool also. So I think at the end of the day, I'll probably just end up setting all these platforms up with a an optional, the ability set them up with the ability to optionally turn on or off the forced yaw rotation. So that just makes sense to me. Because sometimes it's pretty slick, and then other times it's kind of terrible. So anyway, let's see. Down here I've got a couple of platforms. I call this my little Ferris wheel. I'm just jumping between these two platforms to I don't know, just get some air time. I don't have any air control turned on right now, and I'm seeing whether or not I prefer that to actually having a little bit of air control. I probably will add a little bit of air control because it is difficult to get the jumps just right, and it's kind of nice to have a little bit of ability to correct in the air. Even if it's not super realistic, it still makes the game a little more playable, I suppose. Let me get this camera. It's hard to set up the cameras if I'm moving around. All right. Here, let's see if I can do some more. I don't know. Maybe do some little tricks. All right. So that one was pretty easy. Here, let's try. Let's ramp it up. With a big spin, bang my head, miss the platform. All right, that wasn't great. Let's try another one. Jump off the back. Swing, rebounds. Ah, made it. Sweet. All right. I don't know what's next. I'll just jump off. All right, maybe here. I'll just kind of climb up this way. That works, right? Oh well, that's pretty much it. Just playing around with platforms. Um, it's pretty interesting. I think the whole thing, and like I said, it's more of a challenge than I thought it would be. There's so many different scenarios to try to deal with. Like how is the platform moving and how do I interact with it, and like, I don't know, just so many different little things to worry about. Squish. I'm actually afraid to get all the way under this thing because yeah, this gets pretty nasty. So now I'm standing on top of the platform, but my body's underneath it. Still a few things to work out. Anyway, oh, here, check this out. This is kind of interesting too. So these these platforms on the escalator they're actually teleporting when they get to the end, and so if I'm hanging on to it, it gets pretty nasty. It gets pretty nasty if I'm hanging on to it when it teleports. One more time. Boom. So that's pretty cool to test the integrity of the character and whether or not I just like completely explode into a big mess. But that worked out pretty well. So anyway, I mean that's pretty much it. Just playing around with these platforms and trying to work out all the different kinks that are associated with doing this. I think it's really helpful to to interact with the world in so many different ways, because it just helps you like build a lot of consistency with the different routines that I've got, trying to simplify those into something that works in almost every scenario. But man, yeah, there's just a lot of gotchas all over the place. So yeah, it's just a work in progress. I'll keep working on it. So hope you guys enjoyed it. That's pretty much it. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.